Here we are in Growler's Poorhouse for another episode of Jeff and Jamie Feed. I am so excited today.
And I am not.
The one thing you're not confident about. But here we go. We have an awesome guest today. She is so smart, so beautiful, wonderful, just amazing at so many different things. You're just great at the social media, marketing.
You haven't introduced this person yet.
I have not.
Oh.
Yeah, we just wait. Because this person really is probably my favorite person in the whole world. She is amazing. And I was getting to the point that she's so good at just a number of different things. She has so many skills and can help us with plating. She can help us pick out wallpaper. But really, she's an amazing writer. And so I would like to bring on today an Amazon best-selling author, Jamie Brown. There you are.
Thank you, Jeff. That was quite an introduction. And you're right. This is probably the one thing that is most difficult for me to talk about because it does feel a little bit like a bear all situation. So, I think anytime you're doing something different or unique, you're kind of stepping out. It feels a little bit scary. But here we are. And thank you for the kind introduction.
I hear you. And I'm going to wow some of our audience today because I read your book over the weekend. Yes.
Thank you for reading it, Jeff.
I can read. So that's kind of the big wow, I think. But it's always crazy to me because everything in your book is so vivid for me because I lived it. And you are taking those memories and adding more and more layers onto it that I remember, but I hadn't thought about, where you're adding smells in to some of the stories and you're adding all these little obscure details that I probably missed going on in my life, but you captured. And I think that people, though, from talking to people that have read your book, they are loving it as well, and they are crushing your book.
They're reading it very fast.
Most of the people, and it's not a short book, and most of the people that I talk to are reading your book in a day or two. Like 3 days max. They are hunkering down with it and just demolishing it. It's great.
I don't know if it makes me feel like, what did I not make it deep enough, or did I not, make it, insightful enough or difficult enough to get through? But I think that's good if people can read it quickly, because hopefully there's insights that they can just kind of capture and move on from and kind of build on, what they're already thinking about. So hopefully that's helpful. And I had a lot of fun writing it. The book, it's called 11 Tables, and it's, really a look at our story in the restaurant business, and really going back to that singular point of when we were in our lives together, having just 11 tables as like the income for our family. And
not enough.
Not enough. But just like looking at that moment and then, how far we've come. And this kind of shares a lot of the stories behind that and how we got where we are and what worked and what didn't work and failures and ugliness.
Why did you feel like, though, you needed to get this out there and get it all on paper and share it with the world? What was...
Good question. So it's really been about 3 years to the month that I had these ideas of writing this book. I thought that we had been through, enough on this restaurant journey, not just in terms of like restaurants and hospitality, but in terms of business and life experience, that there was a lot of layers that could potentially be shared with people that weren't just in hospitality or restaurants or F&B. It could apply to anybody truly who is a dreamer out there, anybody who like sees something different for themselves or wants to do something more with the life that they had. And that's kind of the reason why I wanted to tell the story.
And I think there's a lot of people that want to know of, like, you're a busy mom of 3. We have a restaurant group that you are like, actively involved in, and like we couldn't operate without you, but yet you found time to write the book. Like, how did you do that? And how did you prioritize that and get that done?
Well, I think prioritizing is exactly the right word. Like, writing a book, like opening a restaurant or doing something gigantic, if somebody is working on like software development or, creating a retail store or writing a play, anything like that, it doesn't just happen very quickly. It is a series of very small steps that happen to add up and become this larger thing. And so, I think when people look at it and they're like, how did you do that? It's literally, I started with the goal of 30 minutes a day, just write for 30 minutes. And that's where I began. And I think if you can do that with consistency, that's where you end up with big results. You end up with a restaurant that opens.
I saw you did your 30 minutes a day, but I mean, you are relentless, and if you had an extra 30 minutes, would do that. And if you had a weekend, we didn't have much going on, you would pour yourself into it and really commit.
There were definitely days that I would spend, 5 hours on it for sure. Like if there was a weekend where we didn't have soccer games or tennis matches or weren't traveling or anything, and most of the laundry was done or something like that.
Well, your husband's so supportive.
Because I have such a supportive husband who does the laundry with me and the dishes and everything. I'm in a good place.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think just it's carving out, and it is prioritizing that as like, hey, this is something I want to do. And I know if I stick with this, that by the end, I will have a book.
So let's get into part of this, because some of the things that I love is your voice in the book. You're very candid and very honest, and you're not afraid to share failures or whatever. But most of the time when you talk to me, you are a very supportive, loving wife. But so I love this. I have a little excerpt. You said, when Jeff and I first began looking for restaurant spaces in 2008 to open Crepe Cellar, I went along with him more out of curiosity than to be genuinely supportive. So,
well, it's true. It was the recession. Let's be clear. It was the recession, and there weren't a lot of jobs out there. And you had the idea. I'll say we had talked about the potential of opening a restaurant, but you decided you actually wanted to do that thing, and I was scared.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was scared. I didn't want to take the leap, and I didn't want to support. I thought if I maybe like stood back, maybe the universe would just make it be a no, because it's really hard to make happen. If I supported it, maybe we could actually do it. So I thought I would just play like kind of more of a, take a back seat on the project and not really help, but just show up.
What's incredible is that from the day I told you to the day that we opened Crepe Cellar was a year. We can't open a restaurant in less than 3 years now with 350 people on our staff. Like the ability for us to get that done. And part of that though is that it was a little 11 table restaurant with used restaurant equipment that we muscled together. So,
well, I think that's one of the big things is like people think they need to do the gigantic thing first. Maybe don't. Maybe start smaller. I think
not much bigger than a food truck over here.
It wasn't. 11 tables is a tiny place. We had about 20 people on our team, and it was a very different time. And I think it was also a different time for Charlotte's food scene too. This was 2009, and we got a lot of like, I'll say, moderately nice local acclaim for that place.
Yeah.
But it was. There wasn't like, we didn't really have the dream of like national acclaim or like Michelin recommendations or anything like that. It was a very manageable situation. And I think that's like with any project, starting a little bit smaller, giving yourself the comfort to be able to like step into something instead of like jumping and leaping the mountain all at once.
Well, I think your stories, 11 tables kind of walking the reader through our story of opening a restaurant and then growing that restaurant and opening more restaurants and kind of leading the reader through with all the stories. Though I think it pertains to more things than just the restaurant business, which I think a lot of readers are understanding and liking.
For sure, because it's not just entrepreneurs and business owners too. It could go for the young lady who's just finished college in like the middle of her quarter life crisis, not sure what to do, there's hope and there's belief and there's like just kind of the promise that if you see something for yourself and you begin to take steps toward it, like you really can make that thing happen. And I think that's where there's power in it. And that's what I'm hopeful, is that it has a positive impact in that way. And it just maybe drives people to understand that they can do that thing that they most dream of doing.
Yeah, I think you have a lot that you want dreamers to read the book and get something from too. And people will kind of learn our quitting our jobs, traveling the world and finding ourselves, but not really finding ourselves, and then coming back and then really needing to find ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think we did the brave thing, which was to leave what we were doing. We put all of our stuff in storage in one storage space. We didn't have very much because we were living in a studio apartment. Put it in storage, and we went and traveled around the world. I actually have a little excerpt on that part that I can share.
Let's read it.
But I think it was that bold move, is what I'm trying to say, that stepping away and deciding to back away and do something different. So I'll share this little piece here. It's from early on in the book. It says, "From Florence to Madrid to Prague to Kyoto, our steps across the wide world grew, and tiny, unknown to us towns became familiar, now bright spots in our past. Each new spot, our plates were filled with ingredients and dishes that had never crossed our lips, tastes and combinations and manners of cooking we had never experienced. Without a home kitchen, we ate from the kitchens and markets of the world, our eyes opened, hungry to learn, now seeing the world through the lens of food."
I love that. You're such a great writer.
Well, thank you. But I think that's really the genesis of what we were doing. You know, we didn't know it at the time. We left to find ourselves, and we found a lot of food on the way.
Oh man. So, as I'm looking at your book sitting on the table there, we do everything as a couple. We run our restaurants together. We do a lot together, and I see my name on the book as well. And it seems like there's an author, and then there's a with. What did I do to get the with?
Well, yes. So on the cover, it's Jamie A. Brown with Jeff Tony Dandel, and there's a couple reasons why I did that. One, obviously, I did a number of interviews with you just to kind of even understand more about your childhood, which was fun for me to hear.
I thought
some
you
of
nailed some of those things. Like you really got those stories of my childhood down, and even like what my mom was cooking for us as kids. I felt like you got that more, even getting it from my brothers and other family members.
Yeah, well, that was really important to me to make sure that it was about us, because I'm very well aware that none of this happens or happened without you. I never would have gone into the restaurant business, and I probably wouldn't have gone into a restaurant business with another man either. So you were the one who said, we had dreamed about opening a restaurant when we were traveling around overseas, and it all felt so fun and exciting. But then we came back, and you actually said you wanted to do that. You committed to doing it. You figured out a way, and then you went and opened that first restaurant. And that was something I always admired in you. It was very brave. Maybe not the smartest thing, the wisest thing to do in a recession, but at the same time, you followed your heart. And I think that's something a lot of people don't do. And so I know that you had to be on here in some way, but we really kept him out of the editing process. This is a guy who doesn't really spell so well or anything. And also I think a big thing too, to me, this is my PR hat that I put on, is that I have a very common name. And also,
I don't know why you haven't taken mine yet.
I want us to continue to grow and do things together, and not have it. And not that I can't stand on my own. Like I am one of those feminists. Yes, I could move out and live on my own, but I want to live with you. I want like our lives to continue to stay together and like us build together. And I think that's been a lot of the fun of the journey too.
Well, I appreciate you including me, and I think that's wonderful. And why don't we just do some more couples therapy and talk a little bit about us working together, and you writing and us, even me reading your deepest thoughts in your book.
Well, what did you think about, like, what were there certain things in here that stood out to you that you remember of us working together or working through, or challenges that we had?
I like reading about the things that like more quirky things that I think people won't don't realize. Like
what?
I love when you talk about us naming restaurants, because I do think that we go through this process that's way different than anyone else in the whole world, and that's why
People have started to ask me if I use Chat GPT at all for that, and I say absolutely not, because it won't come up with as wacky of ideas as my brain will.
And you for the naming, you said authentically unconventional, and like there's so many little tidbits like that throughout the book that make me chuckle and laugh, because I know what that process is. When we go to do naming, you get out your notebook and we have hundreds and hundreds of names that we just start listing out. And I remember sitting, we were probably 3 months in on working on a name for a place, and I was sitting with your brother-in-law Oshin, and he's like, "What about this? What about that?" And I'm like, "Dude, these are all on page 2 and 3." And we're on page 47 of names. Like we are way past that. But that's great that you thought of that, and you thought of it very quickly. It took us an hour to get there, so that's great.
Yeah, and naming is such a process, and it's something that we really have to collaborate on. And I feel like design is like that too. So if you're looking at things where we really have to work together on, the creation of restaurants themselves is a big part of that, and a very challenging part too. Once the restaurants are up and running, I feel like we drop back. Is it challenging
working with me?
It can be,
yeah.
But we drop back into our own silos once a restaurant is open, and I focus on PR and marketing. You're on like operations and culinary, but when we're making a restaurant, we step on each other a lot more, and that's where I feel like I have to be more aware of the fact that you exist and might have other ideas and that maybe they're different from mine and stuff like that. So I try to just like, okay, hear him out. He might have something else
every once in a while
of value to add beyond my thoughts. So, but it's good for me. Like it keeps me humble.
I try not to disagree with you too often.
But you have to, because I think, I could go in a direction sometimes that's a little bit maybe out there a little bit more than we need to be, because also we need to make sure that everything is sellable from the brand and concept down to the dishes themselves.
So there's a lot of entrepreneurship in the book too. What are some of your favorite discussions or even struggles, joys, but just, some of your favorite entrepreneurial things? Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of entrepreneurs are so good at starting something up, and then there's that maintenance part after you create the thing, but then you gotta like sustain the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think some of the biggest things, talking about persisting and evolving in the book, those are so key for any entrepreneur, any business owner. Like as a business becomes more mature, being able to evolve and change. Like this world is changing so fast. We see just astronomical changes that we're having to deal with, and we have to be on our toes even on a weekly basis. And so I think for entrepreneurs not to get so stuck in the way that they began, and find ways to continually evolve based on people's patterns.
We are not afraid to blow things up and do them differently.
We have to.
And the love of learning is a key theme, I think, that gets weaved throughout there, that we're always trying to do things better and always trying to learn.
Yeah. But the other one that I mentioned, that persistence, it's like, I think sometimes you think you get your business up, it should be, all pretty smooth, or maybe you're expecting some ups and downs, but sometimes those downs are really low.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes they're really low, like going through COVID, for instance, like
or when
that
it
was
snowed
tough.
Last week.
Just
all those
dealing
things.
with no income on a Saturday. But yeah, sometimes they're really low, and it's you just have to keep going. You just have to keep taking steps forward.
Well, I think too, our skill set meshes so well together, because I think we do a great job working together to get it off the ground, and then I can take over operationally and have things running. But if there's not a marketing arm and there's not people to dine and eat that wonderful food and hear that story, and that's where I think you crush it. And you always say butts and seats, but that's what you do. You're really good at that part, and you're really good at the marketing part.
Well, thank you for the compliment. As you know, I'm thankful to not have to do it all on my own. We've got now 2 people on our marketing team. And frankly, I find our team to be so supportive of the idea of marketing. When we first started, I think there was a little bit of like hesitance around, having somebody take pictures of food in the kitchen or doing a quick interview in a kitchen. But now they know that that's such an integral part of their paycheck, is that if we have people in the doors, everybody can get paid. We have more support. There's just, everything works better if we have higher revenue.
And how is that going as a writer? Because I feel like the writers have some of the same challenges where you pour yourself into this book and you write a book over a number of years, and then it finally comes out, but then you have to switch hats. Your job changes, and you're marketing your book, and it's a different world. It's a different skill set. So how do you feel there?
It is a totally different world and skill set, and I'm grateful that I have some background in it. I'm also very grateful that it ties in with our restaurants, because I would have a little bit of a hard time promoting myself and my book. But this feels like I'm telling the story of us. I'm telling the story of our restaurant group. And I feel like it's such an interesting angle and way of sharing our story in a more in-depth way that will hopefully lift all boats, in our restaurant group. So that's my hope. So I think because it has those other facets, I'm just being honest, like it's nice that I have those things to hang my hat on instead of just like, buy my book, this is my name. It just feels more like it has more breadth to it and more purpose to it, and hopefully greater impact as a result.
I love that. What kind of impact are you hoping that some of the readers are getting out of your book?
Well, I just want people, I just want people to be happy on this earth. We just get one time to be here. And I think a lot of people are down. A lot of people don't know how to get things done. A lot of people have like a spark in their heart that they want to do something, but they feel strapped and tied down, like they can't do it. And I get those feelings. I've been there. I still get those feelings sometimes. Writing a book, I had that feeling like, can I actually do this? Anytime we go to open a big restaurant, some of these things like that Leaper Wyatt project sometimes really gets at me. I'm like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get that whole thing together? But it will be just like it always is, one step at a time, one piece at a time. And sometimes they are baby steps, and sometimes there's steps that go to the side or that even go backward, but they position you in a place to move forward. And
I think that taking the dream and putting it in motion is a big theme throughout the book, and you give lots of stories and things that we've gone through to get there and keep pushing forward. Do you anything come to mind? You have a favorite one?
No, but I actually want to know like about
you.
Like what about I'm going to beat you. I actually brought questions for you too.
Oh, this is
because there is a with. It is a with Jeff Tony Daniel. Let's hear what you have to say.
So I get included too.
Yes. Well, let me just say this. I before we dive into you, because we're about to do that, but I just want to read this one little thing so that you can see why I included you as the with here. This is in the acknowledgments. Okay. Last, I thank my husband, Jeff. That's you. This dream began with your belief. You had the boldness to start, the steadiness to sustain, and the vision to grow something meaningful. Your creativity, courage, and unwavering partnership have shaped everything this book stands for. You have lifted me when I was weak. Oh, no, I just got teary-eyed. Sorry. Pull yourself together.
Wow.
Hold on.
Wow.
You have lifted me when I was weak and encouraged me still higher when I was strong. Though these are my words, this is our story. So now you can't cry. You're not going to cry though.
That's really sweet.
Anyway,
I appreciate it.
So let's beat you up a little bit. Like,
All right, what do you got? What do you got?
Leadership in the restaurant business. I mean, sometimes I feel like we're like a band of cowboys or we're like a pirate ship of some kind because we've got so many different people from so many different walks of life and with a lot of, I'll say, baggage along with it. Do you know what I mean? Like these are a lot of people who, and I just adore them, but there's a lot of troubled backgrounds. There's a lot of, troubled issues going on, substance abuse problems, all of this, and you're kind of at the helm. What is that like being a leader in this kind of industry?
Yeah, I would say that our leadership probably it started so differently, I think, than most restaurants, that we had zero restaurant experience. We both have a lot of theoretical experience where we both have our MBAs. I have a concentration in entrepreneurship and finance. And so I kind of started viewing things from those lenses and trying to build what I thought a company should look like and not necessarily a restaurant or a restaurant group. And so I think we were thinking about things differently. But one of the worries that we had, I think, was we're coming in as outsiders into this business. And how are we going to get along with this group, the little younger group of people that
they're so much hipper and cooler.
They're so cool and so hip, and they come from different backgrounds than we have, and a lot of them dropped out of school for whatever reason, or there's something that drew them to the hospitality industry early, and once we started getting in and meeting these people, we just loved them. They became our family. And once you go through an opening of a restaurant with somebody, you have this bond that is there forever. It's incredible.
But it's definitely like you think about a lot of people who start a new company, they're working with people who are very professional, very, certified, and very, they're all, perfectly dressed and they could work on Wall Street and they're very, professional, and our restaurant family, our corporate culture is very different from that. And I honestly am so grateful for that. I love the diversity of people. I love how different it is than having to lead people who are maybe always together. Like these people are real and they're raw and they're authentic. And I think that's one of the things that has really drawn me toward it and made me love it even more and in a way that I didn't expect.
And I think you can see those decisions, from the beginning that you were a huge part of, because we're talking every day and we do everything together. But I didn't want to wear a sport coat to work. Like I didn't. So Uptown, the whole Uptown was, because there was like one or
even
two
in
cool
the restaurant
spots
business
that people were like, wow, there's one or two cool spots that just opened Uptown. You should jump on that. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I don't want to wear a sport coat. I don't want to have to be dressed up like that. And we didn't even want to be serving a bunch of corporate people wearing blue shirts every day. And we wanted to be in NOTA. We wanted to have people be able to express themselves and come into work with a full sleeve of tattoos if they wanted to. And, just kind of have a little more freedom.
Comfortable. Yeah. I agree.
You're going to ask me another question.
Well, I was, looking at my questions here. So I think one of the big things I talk about in here is failure. I thought maybe, since again, you're part of this, since you're a big part of our failures, just maybe one of the failures that you feel like was most impactful for us, and maybe even because it didn't come about helpful.
I mean, I kind of treat failures more as like learnings and things that we need to do better, and kind of go from that point. And it's some of it's timing too, because, I think our decision to open a crepe restaurant at the time was a wonderful decision because of the price point and the lower price point. But then we kind of outgrew that. So you could say that Crepe Cellar was a failure because we, closed it down and opened something else. But it was more just like a learning process of learning about price points and us kind of growing into being able to do a better job. that was the reason that we closed it down.
Yeah, looking at failures and they're not seeing them as failures, but seeing them as just kind of like a turning point or a lesson learned or something that helps you get better.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think we're learning about failures all the time. A few weeks ago, we joked earlier about the snow days, but the first Saturday that we were closed, we did a terrible job of preparing for that, and part of that was we didn't know if it really was going to snow, and it didn't snow, Brad. But the next week, we learned from that, and we stopped ordering food on Wednesday. We cut schedules. We were prepared for the weekend ahead of time. So it's like, every single day we have to be learning, and we have to take those failures as learning and just get better. Yeah,
absolutely. And we certainly dive into that in this book too. Do you have any final questions for me?
Ooh, what are you going to write next?
Oh, geez. No, we're going to stay focused here on this. But
isn't that what everybody wants to know?
It's always like, what's next? What's the next restaurant? Can we just stay where we are? But
no, what I would say is there anything that you share in there behind the scenes that you want to share with the listeners, or do you want people to read about them?
Well, I'll let people get most of the details reading the book itself, but I'm just grateful for the platform to get to do this and to write a book and have it be a part of our story now as well. And I'm grateful for the journey that we've had, and that it is story worthy, and that there's a lot of things that we've learned that even though they've been difficult to go through, that hopefully the words are something that inspires other people on their journey as well.
One thing I do want to talk about before we wrap up is you have recipes in the back of the book.
Oh yeah, I do.
And why did you include some of those things, and what are some of the recipes that you have?
Well, I love food writing, and so I do a lot of that throughout the book. So I wanted to make sure that there was a way for people to get kind of a little taste of our world over here. But I wanted to make sure that they were also very simple recipes, because they need to be able to be done in the home, not have to be in bulk, be simple enough that people wouldn't find them so intimidating. So I'll give you an example. One of them is the Ever Andalo ricotta. We make all of our ricotta homemade, so it's just a super simple recipe to make ricotta. And most of these recipes too that I selected are ones that you can use across ingredients or kind of be like a staple in your kitchen. So the ricotta, for instance, we use at Ever Andalo for the cannolis. We top it on top of pastas. We use it even just served with focaccia bread. But this is a super simple recipe. It's got 5 ingredients. You can make your own ricotta. And in fact, when you're making it, you can use the whey runoff from the ricotta to actually brine chicken, for instance, which is what we do over at Ever Andalo too.
It's a nice touch and a good use of a waste product.
Nice use of a waste product.
I love when you initially started looking at recipes and you're going through some of our recipes and you're like, oh, the ricotta recipe. And it's like, take 4 gallons of milk.
I was like, we need to cut these back. So our chefs were super kind to share all these recipes with me and help me get it down to, the appropriate sizes for families to be able to use. But thank you for the grilling here today, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for including me with your book. Your book is wonderful, and I'm so glad that you shared our story with so many people. And in that medium is just, it's great. I'm really impressed, and I'm always impressed by you, and nice work.
Jeez, thank you, Jeff. That's so kind. If you want to get the book, you can find it on Amazon, of course. You can also find it at Books A Million and Barnes & Noble online. It is carried in some stores, like at South Park at the Barnes & Noble out there, Main Street Books up in Davidson. Thank you all for just the support over the years, for sticking with us, and here on the podcast. Feel free to like and comment, subscribe, share. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Jeff and Jamie Feed.
11 tables, everyone.